हाँ
Good morning. First of all, I would like to extend thanks to GKEPC India and WTC Jaipur for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this webinar, this wonderful initiative by such esteemed organizations. So, the agenda for today is to discuss the fiscal measures which have been announced by the government for combating COVID-19 outbreak. So, it is one in a lifetime thing that we all are going through these days due to this outbreak of this hazardous disease COVID-19, and due to which lockdown has been announced. There have been several measures which have been taken, several steps have been announced from the government side to deal with this outbreak and to address the issues which were being faced by the various trades and businesses. So we are going to discuss such important announcements one by one. So first of all, I would like to brief you about the areas for which announcements have been made and those announcements which we are going to discuss in today's meeting. So there are announcements which pertain to income tax, the announcements for GST, limited announcements for customs and service tax as well. There is a good announcement for insolvency and bankruptcy code. There are certain announcements pertaining to financial services, majorly the banking, and some announcements which have been made by RBI. And there are announcements for Companies Act. So these are the documents which have been summarized in the presentation and which we'll be discussing. So there was a press release by the Honorable FM. A press brief was conducted by our Finance Minister, Madam Nirmala Sitharaman ji, along with MOS Finance, Mr. Anurag Thakur, on 24th of March. So post that meeting, a press release was given in the public domain. So we will be discussing all those points which are mentioned in that press release. Then Ministry of Corporate Affairs came up with two circulars which were in line with the announcements which are made by that press release. So the circulars were 11/2020 and 12/2020. So both these circulars gave the necessary machinery through which the announcements which are made by the minister, finance minister, came into the system. Then a press release, a press briefing was conducted from RBI side on 27th March, and post which the press release was given. Then an ordinance was passed on 31st March 2020, the taxation and the other laws, relaxation of certain provisions ordinance 2020, which again gave the certain machinery which was required to implement the announcements which were made. So the ordinance covered the announcements which were made for income tax and somewhat for GST. Then the CBIC, Central Board of Indirect Taxes, came up with various notifications numbered from 30/2020, 30/2020 to 36/2020. So we are going to discuss all those notifications in this meeting. And we also have some important recommendations and decisions which were taken in the 39th GST Council meeting, which was held on 14th March, corresponding to which certain notifications were released on 23rd March 2020. So these recommendations are important to be discussed in this meeting because they will necessarily drive the compliance in GST for the next few months. And we have certain important updates from DGFT that we are going to discuss. So first of all, I would like to begin with income tax. The announcements which have been made for income tax. The first announcement is extension in the due date of income tax returns for the financial year 18-19. So the belated returns for financial year 18-19 could be filed by 31st March 2020. Now, since this period was covered under the lockdown that was announced, so the due date for such belated returns which pertain to financial year 18-19 has been extended to 30th June 2020.
आप अगर एक चेन ही बनाते हो तो आप क्या बोलोगे अपने बारे में? अगर आप
Aadhaar linking PAN, linking of Aadhaar number with the PAN number is a necessary exercise that every income tax payer was supposed to do. So the last date it was given earlier doing this thing was 31st March 2020. Now again that date has been extended to 30th June 2020. So if a taxpayer does not link his Aadhaar card with his PAN card by this date, the new announced date, 30 June 2020, then the PAN will be deemed as invalid and no further compliance will be optimal using that PAN number. Now, this third announcement is very important. Any due date which was falling due between the period of 20th March 2020 to 29th June 2020.
Let's take a look at
any payment which was pertaining to TDS, TCS, advance tax or self-assessment tax, which was falling due. The due date of such payment was falling due between the period window was 20th day of March to 29th June 2020 has been allowed to be paid by 30th June of 2020. The following additional things will also apply. The lower interest at the lower rate of 9% will be payable if such payment is made by 30th June. No penalty will be charged for such delayed payment. Prosecution cannot be launched against such delayed payment. So overall, as such, there is no extension which has been given in the due dates for payments which were falling due from 20th March to 29th June. A benefit of lower interest has been given, whereby the taxpayer will only be paying the interest at the rate of 9% per month or part of month. No penal provisions will attract and no prosecution can be launched. These payments will include payment against the TDS, the TCS, the advance tax, and the self-assessment tax under income taxes. Any other time limit, I'm coming to the next announcement. Any other time limit which was falling due between this period, that is 20th March of 2020 to 29th June 2020, will be extended. Such compliance or such action can be taken by 30th June 2020. Meaning thereby, from the government perspective, if any proceeding was to be conducted, any order was to be passed, any intimation, notice, sanction, approval, anything of such kind was supposed to be issued, it was getting time barred between this period, then such compliance or such action can be taken by 30th June 2020. From the taxpayer's perspective, if any appeal, any reply, any application, any report, any document, any return, statement or record was supposed to be filed between this period of 20th March to 29th June, then such compliance can be done by 30th June. One very important announcement: any deposit, investment, purchase, acquisition of capital asset, anything of such kind which would qualify for a deduction or an exemption under the income tax under sections 54 to 54 GB or chapter 6 heading B, like sections 80C, 80D, 80G, etc. Such reductions or investments which were supposed to be made between this period can now be made by 30th June. So for financial year 1920, if a taxpayer wants to claim exemption by making a certain investment or a deduction by making such a certain investment, and he is not able to do that due to the lockdown, then such action can be taken, such investment can be done by 30th June, and the taxpayer will be eligible for claiming the benefit of deduction or the exemption. Another important announcement, Vivad Se Vishwas scheme. It is a one-time scheme announced by the government for mitigating all the judicial proceedings which are undergoing for a taxpayer, whereby the taxpayer can pay the tax amount and get relief from the penalty. The last date for opting and paying such tax under this scheme was 31st March 2020, whereby no additional 10% amount of the disputed tax was being recovered. Now such date of 31st March has been extended to 30th June 2020. So Vivad Se Vishwas scheme can now be opted, the tax can now be paid by 30th June 2020, and it will be for the benefit of the taxpayer. I'm discussing the last point now. It is a very important power that the government has kept with itself. The ordinance that was passed on 31st March, the Taxation and Other Laws Relaxation of Certain Provisions Ordinance, which came up bringing in all the machinery that was required to implement all these announcements, has given the power to the government to notify any date after 30th June also if it deems fit. So in the previous slides or in the current slide, wherever I have discussed that the new date will be 30th June for anything, now such date can also be enhanced, can also be taken forward by the government. Such power has been kept in this ordinance. So this necessarily gives us an idea that if the lockdown gets extended and the due date 30th June is also not very appropriate for making all these compliances and taking all these actions, the government has the necessary power already to further extend such date and take it even forward than 30th June. So these were the announcements which have been announced for income tax. Now next is for GST. Let's discuss some important announcements which have been made for GST. The announcements for GST are necessarily from the compliance perspective. Due dates for various compliances which were falling due between this period of lockdown have been extended. We are going to discuss all such due dates. So the first announcement, very important announcement, is for the adjustment of Rule 36(4). Let me give you a background about Rule 36(4). Rule 36(4) is a rule that restricts the claim of ITC of a taxpayer for a certain tax period up to 110% of the amount which is being reflected in his GSTR 2A. I repeat, Rule 36(4) is the rule restricting the eligibility of the ITC, input tax credit, of the taxpayer for a certain tax period to the extent of 110% of the amount which is reflecting in his GSTR 2A for that tax period. Now, the important announcement pertaining to Rule 36(4) which has been made is that the condition of Rule 36(4) has to be satisfied cumulatively for the months of February, March, April, May, June, July and August For these, the adjustment of Rule 36(4) is supposed to be done cumulatively, and such adjustment can be done in the GSTR 3B of the month of September 2020. I repeat, the condition of Rule 36(4) for the months February 2020 to August 2020 has to be checked cumulatively, and any adjustment arising out of the implementation of this rule, then such adjustment can be done in the 3B of the month of September 2020. So let's understand this with the help of the illustration that is written on the presentation. Suppose a company ABC has a eligible ITC which it has claimed in its GSTR 3B for the months of February to August. So the cumulative ITC for the month of February to August, which is deemed as claimable by the company, is rupees 25 lakhs, whereas the cumulative ITC, which is reflecting in GSTR 2A of this company for the cumulative period of February 2020 to August 2020 is 20 lakhs. Then the adjustment, then first of all, the ITC of such company will be restricted to 22 lakhs. As I just said, it will be restricted to 110% of, it will be restricted to 110% of the amount which is reflecting in GSTR 2A. So the cumulative amount which is reflecting in GSTR 2A is 20 lakhs. Adding 10% of 20 lakhs, it total becomes 22 lakhs. So the ITC claim will be restricted to 22 lakhs for this company for this period. Now, it has already claimed 25 lakhs in the GSTR 3B, which it has filed for these months. So the adjustment of rupees 3 lakhs will have to be done in the month of September while filing the GSTR 3B of the September. I hope I am clear. We can take any query if we have on this this announcement. Okay. Let's move forward.
Pulkit, we will take questions afterwards.
Okay, sir. Okay. Let's move forward then. Next, I'm coming to the announcements pertaining to the extension in due dates of GSTR 3B. So, for extending the due dates of GSTR 3B, the government seems to have divided the taxpayers into 3 classes. So, the taxpayers have been divided into 3 classes. The first class is of the taxpayers whose aggregate turnover in the previous financial year is up to 1.5 crores. The next are the taxpayers whose aggregate turnover is more than 1.5 crores but up to rupees 5 crores in the preceding financial year. And the next class is of those taxpayers who have a turnover of more than 5 crore rupees in the preceding financial year. So the extension has been given for each of these classes separately. So let's discuss them one by one. First of all, the small taxpayers whose aggregate turnover does not exceed 1.5 crore in the preceding financial year, they can file their GSTR 3B without any late fees and without any interest. I repeat, without any late fees or without any interest. For different months, different due dates have been given. GSTR 3B pertaining to the month of February 2020 for such taxpayers can be filed by 30th June 2020.
रिकॉर्डिंग हो रही है
3B pertaining to March 2020. 3B pertaining to March 2020 can be filed by 3rd of July 2020, and the 3B pertaining to April 2020 can be filed by 6th of July 2020. So 3 different dates for 3 different months for the class of taxpayers whose aggregate turnover does not exceed rupees 1.5 crores in the preceding financial year. Next, for those taxpayers whose aggregate turnover is more than 1.5 crores but less than rupees 5 crores, they also can file their return without paying any late fees and without paying any interest for the months of February and March. The due date will be 29th June 2020. And for the month of April, the due date will be 30th June. So for those taxpayers whose aggregate turnover is between the window of 1.5 crores to 5 crores, can file their February and March returns without any late fees or interest by 29th June. And for the month of April, they can file it by 30th June 2020. And the next class is of the taxpayers whose aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year is greater than rupees 5 crores. Such taxpayers will not be liable to pay any late fees if they file their returns by the due date, extended due date, but they will be liable to pay interest at the rate of reduced rate of 9%. If they file their return after 15 days of the original due date. So let me read the whole provision for you, then I'll explain it again. For those taxpayers whose aggregate turnover is more than rupees 5 crores in the preceding financial year, the due date of GSTR 3B for the month of February, March and April will be 24th June 2020. 24th June 2020. No interest will be liable to be paid if the returns are filed within the 15 days from the original due date. Original due date means the due date which is already there and not the extended due date of 24th June. So no interest will be liable to be paid if return is filed within 15 days from the original due date. And interest reduced rate of 9% will get attracted if the returns are filed after 15 days from the original due date. So let me take an example and then it will become more clear. For example, that let's suppose the due date for a taxpayer for the return of February 2020 for the GSTR 3B of February 2020 was 20th March 2020. So those taxpayers who filed their return by 20th March plus 15 days. So that means 4th of April. So those taxpayers who have filed their GSTR 3B for February by 4th April will not be liable to pay any interest, but those people who are filing after 4th April will be liable to be paid. Interest will be liable to be paid at the reduced rate of 9% for those people. If such returns are not filed by 24th June, then interest rate will be 18%, which is the existing rate. So no benefit of the reduced rate will be allowed for payment of interest if the returns are filed after 24th June for such category of taxpayers. So no late fees if returns are filed by 24th June, interest at the reduced rate of 9%, whereas in any of the cases that I have discussed for any of the categories, if the compliance is not made within the extended due date, then late fees will become liable from the day immediately after the extended due date. So it becomes very, very necessary to make the appropriate compliances to file the GSTR 3B by the extended due date. If it is not done, then no benefit of the reduced interest rate will be allowed, and the late fees will be recovered in the whole for the whole period. So that was all about GSTR 3B due dates. we will now proceed and we will discuss the due date of GSTR 1. Late fees shall not be payable by all the registered persons perform GSTR 1. So for GSTR 1, the due date has not been announced separately for different categories. There is a single due date pertaining to all the months. No different due dates for different categories and different months. There is a single due date for each category and for all the months. Late fees shall not be payable by all the registered taxpayers for Form GSTR 1 for the months of March, April, and May. Please note the months March, April, and May. I again want to mention that due dates extension for 3B was given for the months of February, March, and April, but no extension has been given for the month of February GSTR 1. No extension has been given for the due date of return under Form GSTR 1 for the month of February 2020. The extension which has been given pertains to March, April, and May 2020, and the due date will be 30th June for all the 3 months and for all the taxpayers. So GSTR 1 can be filed without any late fees for March, April, and May by 30th June. Coming to the composition taxpayers, for Form CMP 08, the due date has been extended for the quarter which ended on March 31st March 2020, and the due date for CMP 08 for this quarter will be 7 July 2020. Now GSTR 4 is to be filed for the financial year 1920. The extended due date for GSTR 4 for such composition taxpayers will be 15th July 2020. Now, the last announcement that we are discussing is the window of 20th day of March to 29th June of 2020. If any proceeding was to be completed, any order was to be passed, any issuance of any notice, intimation, notification, sanction, approval, any such task was supposed to be done between this period, then such task can be completed now by 30th June. Any appeal, any reply, any application, any report was to be furnished, any document was to be filed, any such thing which was falling due between 20th day of March to 29th day of June 2020 can now be done till 30th June. Next announcement is very, very important. It pertains to the e-way bills which were issued before the lockdown was announced. So the validity of the e-way bill, whose original validity is expiring during the period of 20th March to 15th April 2020. 20th March to 15th April 2020 shall be deemed to be extended till 30th April 2020. So there is a deemed extension given to all the e-way bills which were issued before the lockdown.
Sorry to interrupt, Pulkit ji. Nitin this side.
Yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt you. We can skip this slide as e-way bill is not applicable to our chapter.
Okay. So next, let me take the next announcement then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So till now we have discussed the extension in due dates which was announced for the month of February, March, and April. Now coming to the due date for the month of May 2020. Due date for May 2020 GSTR for the taxpayers whose aggregate turnover in the previous financial year is more than 5 crores will be 27th June 2020. We have seen for the month of February, March, and April, the due date for this category of taxpayers was 24th June. For the month of May, it will be 27th June. For other taxpayers, the due date for the May 2020 GST 3B will be 12th and 14th of July, depending on the state in which the principal place of such taxpayer is situated. So, 12th July will be the due date for those people who are based out of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Goa, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Pondicherry, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, or Lakshadweep. For the remaining territories and regions, the due date will be 14th July for the May 2020 GSTR 3B. Now, the announcements for GST that we have discussed till now were coming out from the press brief that was conducted by the Finance Minister on 24th March and the notifications which were issued on 3rd of April 2020. Now, I am discussing some important announcements which are coming out from the 39th GST Council meeting. First announcement is that annual return of GST for the financial year 18-19, which was falling due on 31st March 2020, has been extended to June 2020. So I want to highlight that June 2020, last week of June 2020, is going to be very, very busy because majorly all the due dates which are falling due with the, for these 3 months, for the current month and the next 2 months, will fall due by the end of June 2020 only. Filing of GSTR 9C reconciliation statement has been made optional for those category of taxable persons whose aggregate turnover in the financial year does not exceed ₹5 crores. Although they are liable to file GSTR 9, but filing of 9C has been made optional for them. They can escape filing 9C if they want. The implementation of the new GST return system has been further postponed to October 2020. It was earlier expected to be implemented from 1st April only, but now it has been deferred. Until then, the existing system of GSTR 1, 2A and 3B shall continue. Apart from that, the e-invoicing system and the QR code, which was supposed to be made applicable from 1st April on compulsory basis for those persons whose aggregate turnover was exceeding 100 crores, has now been again deferred to 1st of October 2020. So e-invoicing and QR code deferred to 1st October 2020. And one very important announcement, one very important decision that was taken in this meeting was the calculation of interest on the delayed payment of GST on the net liability basis. Meaning thereby, so there were several notices being issued by the department to recover the interest for the delayed deposit of GST by the taxpayers, and in these notices the calculation that was done by the department was on gross basis without giving the effect of the ITC claim to the taxpayer. Now that view has been set aside by the GST Council, although there was a section already introduced in the GST Act, White GST Amendment, which was made in 2018, but that section was not yet notified. So the GST Council, litigations were increasing and many representations were made. So the GST Council decided to make a retrospective amendment, and the interest on liability will now be collected on net basis. If any such notice has been issued by the department, that notice is not workable now. These were the important announcements which have been announced for GST, which will drive our compliance for the next few months for GST. Some brief announcements which have been made for other indirect taxes. There was a scheme under service tax, Sabka Vishwas scheme. So those people who has applied for this scheme, who have opted to settle their dispute under this scheme, were supposed to make the payment 31st March under such scheme. Now that payment date has been deferred to 30th June. One announcement which was made was 24/7 custom clearance till end of 30th June 2020. So the COVID-19 outbreak has necessarily impacted the EXIM business to a great extent. So our FM made an announcement that the custom clearance shall be done 24/7 basis till 30th June. And further, any compliance which is falling due between this period of 28th March to 29th June under Customs Act or any other law shall be extended to 30th June. So such compliance or such action from the department side can now be taken till 30th June. Next is a very, very important announcement coming from Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. So before discussing the announcement that has been made, let me give you a brief background. Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code is a judicial measure which is available to the creditors, whereby if any company defaults for an amount of rupees 1 lakh or more, can be taken into insolvency proceedings. Now, Section 4 of the IBC, the threshold given thereunder has been increased to rupees 1 crore. So, a company can now be taken into insolvency. The procedure for insolvency can now be triggered only when the default is more than of rupees 1 crore. The threshold limit has been increased. So thereby small defaults cannot be taken into insolvency and IBC cannot be initiated. Further, one important announcement that was made by the FM was that if such scenarios continue beyond 30th April 2020, then the government may also consider suspending the operation of Section 7, 9 and 10 of the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code for a period of 6 months so as to stop the companies at large from forced into insolvency proceedings in such force causes of default. So that means the government may consider to suspend the operation of Section 7, 9 and 10. See, please note Section 7, 9 and 10 are sections from the proceedings against a defaulter. So if Section 7, 9 and 10 are suspended, then no company can be taken into insolvency irrespective of the default, irrespective of the amount of default. Such announcement has been made, but the decision is not final. The government is looking at the scenarios. They are watchful of the scenarios. If they'll deem fit that this announcement is necessary, then they might come up in future. Till now, they have said that they are thinking about bringing this change. So the change that has been announced as of now is just about the threshold limit. Proceedings can be initiated, but the threshold limit will be rupees 1 crore or more. The proceedings the initiation of proceedings might be suspended in future if the current scenarios continue and such decision is taken from the government side. Next are the announcements relating to Companies Act. There are some very important announcements which pertain to Companies Act. As of now, new companies are required to file a declaration declaring their commencement of business within 180 days from the date of their incorporation. Now, such 180 additional time of 180 days has been given to such companies to file such declaration. So they now have 360 days to file the commencement of business declaration. Next, there is a mandatory requirement under Companies Act to hold the board meetings of company within a prescribed interval of 120 days. Such interval is now extended to 60 more days, making 180 days in total for the next 2 quarters. So that means that a date of 2 consecutive meetings can be for a period of 180 days and not more than that. It was earlier 120 days. 2 meetings were supposed to be conducted within a period lesser than 120 days, and now 60 days can be additionally have been given for the next 2 quarters, and it in total becomes 180 days. Further, next announcement is pertaining to the meeting to be conducted by the independent directors. At least one meeting is required to be done by the independent directors without the attendance of any non-independent directors and the members of the management. So for the financial year 1920, such compliance has been waived, and it will not be deemed as violation if the company is not able to conduct such meeting exclusively for the independent directors for the financial year 1920. Next is pertaining to the minimum residency of the director. At least one of the director of an Indian company is required to be in India for a period of at least 182 days in a financial year. Now, for this financial year, if such compliance is not followed, then also it will not be deemed as violation. So meaning thereby, if none of the directors is present in India for at least 182 days also, then also it will not be deemed as violation of Companies Act. The companies who accept public deposits are required to create a deposit reserve of 20% of the deposits maturing during the financial year. So for the financial year 2021, such companies were required to create a deposit reserve of 20% of deposits before 30th April. Now they can do this compliance till 30th June 2020. Next is the requirement to invest 15% of the debentures amount which is maturing during a particular year in the specified instruments. The due date for the financial year 2021 was 30th April. Now this has also been extended to 30th June. So such investment can also be made by 30th June. Applicability of Caro report. The company's auditor report 2020 was supposed to be made applicable for 1920 financial year, but it has been deferred for now, and it will be applied from the financial year 2021. This is one very, very important announcement. The ministry has come up with a company's Fresh Start Scheme 2020 CFSS 2020 Circular 12/2020 was issued in this regard. I just mentioned two circulars, 11/2020 and 12/2020, which were laid down after the press brief which was conducted by FM. Circular 11 was discussing the amendments which have been made that I have discussed in the previous slides pertaining to Companies Act, and circular number 12 introduces the company's Fresh Start Scheme CFSS 2020. Now I'll speak some important features of this scheme. The operative period of this scheme is from 1st April 2020 to 30th September 2020. This scheme allows belated filing of any form without any additional fees. Any form, any document, any return, any statement can be filed without any additional fees to the MCA 21 registry, irrespective of its due date. Only the normal fees is applicable, will be required to be paid, and no additional fees will be applied. So those companies which have been defaulting in making their compliance with ROC, with the MCA, can opt for this scheme, whereby belated filing will be permitted till the operative period of this scheme without any additional fees. There will be immunity from the launch of prosecution and the proceedings for imposing penalty pertaining to delay in filing of such belated documents. So, no proceedings for prosecution and for the penalty can be initiated if this scheme is adopted and the compliance is made, taking effect of this scheme. This scheme is not applicable for the documents or forms which pertain to increase in authorized capital of the company, or those forms or documents which are related to charge. So those defaults which have been done in filing the documents pertaining to charge cannot take the benefit of this scheme. Other documents are eligible. The company can also claim the dormant status by filing form MSC 1 after opting this scheme and making the due compliance. It can also apply for striking off of the name by filing form STK 02 and making the compliance of the existing defaults. I hope I'm clear. Now let me discuss in brief some important announcements which pertain to financial services, necessarily the banking industry, and the announcements which have been made by RBI. Some important announcements which were made by the FM. Debit card holders can withdraw cash using the any other bank's ATM. Any other bank's means it is not necessary to withdraw money using the ATM of the card issuing bank, but any other bank's ATM can be used for 3 months without paying any additional charges. Minimum balance fee, the minimum balance which is required to be maintained in the accounts, there shall be no fees which the bank can collect for non-maintenance of such minimum balance. Bank charges have been reduced for digital trade transactions for all trade finance consumers. So these were the brief announcements. Now let me come to the announcements made by RBI. I will not discuss all the announcements made by RBI, but some important announcements. One very important announcement is the reduction of CRR, cash reserve ratio, by 100 basis points, bringing it down to 3.0% of the net demand and time liabilities. So the CRR of banks have been reduced by 100 basis point to provide the liquidity to the banks, and the new CRR is 3.0% of the NDTL. It is expected that it will infuse liquidity of about 1,37,000 crores into the banking system. Next, very important announcement. There was a buzz regarding the moratorium, which was very much expected. Such moratorium has been given on term loans for the next 3 months. So all commercial banks have been covered, cooperative banks, all India financial institutions, NBFCs, all such institutions have been permitted to allow a moratorium of 3 months on payment of installments, EMIs, in respect of all kinds of term loans which were outstanding on 1st of March 2020. So accordingly, the banks are expected to reschedule their EMIs. The repayment schedule shall be revised, and such EMIs may be shifted for the later period. Majorly, all the banks and institutions have come up with their own policy regarding the moratorium. So it is now workable. Banks are asking their customers to give their consent for this moratorium, post which they will not be debiting the EMIs. So they have given 2-3 options depending on the bank to bank and the nature of the product opted for. But this is a general guideline which was laid down by RBI in its press release regarding the moratorium. So for the term loans, moratorium was announced. Then deferment was deferment of interest was announced for working capital facilities. So there are many borrowers who have taken working capital facilities from different banks. These working capital facilities might have been sanctioned in form of cash credits or overdrafts. Now the lending institutions have been allowed to allow a deferment of 3 months on payment of interest in respect of such facilities which were outstanding as on 1st March 2020. The accumulated interest for this period will be paid after the expiry of the deferment period. There is an important change, announcement pertaining to asset classification, which provides relief to the borrowers due to the COVID-19 outbreak. The moratorium deferred has been announced to address the economic fallout from COVID-19. Therefore, such moratorium or deferment will not be considered as change in terms and conditions of the loan agreement due to financial difficulty of the borrowers, and thus it will not result in the asset classification downgrade. So the loan cannot be considered as an NPA despite not paying the EMIs for this period, despite not paying the interest for this period on the overdraft and cash credit facilities. So there cannot be any asset classification downgrade. It has been announced by RBI. Further, RBI has permitted the banks to recalculate their drawing power of the borrowers for cash credit and overdraft, and such drawing power can be calculated by reducing the margins which has been taken by the banks while giving this facility of CC and OD and any other working capital cycle change of the borrower. So the banks have been given power to reconsider the calculation of drawing power. So we are now on the last discussion Is anybody asking anything?
I think somebody has put his microphone on position, left microphone on position. I request him to put it in off position.
Okay. So some important updates for exporters which are coming from DGFT. This is the last segment of our presentation. One very, very important announcement is that foreign trade policy for 15-20 has been extended till 31st March 2021. So the same FTP policy will continue for the next financial year also. No change in the FTP policy. One point that was mentioned in the DGFT notification that came out giving extension to this policy was that the benefits to the service providers which are being extended in this FTP policy, the government may consider revising them or working them out again. Details are not given, only this much is mentioned in the notification. So we'll probably wait for the update. There might be some changes for service providers in the benefits given to them in this FTP policy. Rest, everything remains the same. Next announcement is regarding the duty-free import authorizations, DFIAs, where the validity of any DFIA was expiring. Validity for import was expiring between a period of 1st February 2020 to 31st July 2020. Then such validity will be deemed to be extended by 6 months from the date of expiry. So, any authorization the validity was expiring between 1st February 2020 to 31st July 2020. There shall be a deemed extension of 6 months in such DFIAs. The same extension will apply to imports, the EPCG scheme, whereby any validity for import was expiring between this period shall now be extended for the next 6 months from the date of expiry. That is very important, from the date of expiry, not from 31st July. 6 months are to be counted from the date of expiry of independent DFIA. So each DFIA's expiry date will have to be checked, and from there 6 months extension is given. The expiry has to be within this bracket of 31st July 2020. So starting from 1st February, ending on 31st July. Further, the cabinet has approved the remission of duties and taxes on exported products. Remission of duties and taxes on exported products, RODTEP scheme, to boost exports for enhancing exports to international market. This was a very discussed amendment which was proposed. The cabinet has finally approved it, although there is no date notified, and the press release announcing this came before the lockdown was announced. So probably we can expect the implementation of this scheme after the lockdown ends. In this scheme, the items will be shifted in a phased manner from the existing MEIS to RODTEP scheme. Now let me tell you a brief about this scheme. This scheme targets towards the ultimate object of zero-rated exports. Now what is zero-rated export? Whereby no tax is payable at any point in India where that product is ultimately supposed to be exported out of India. So there are various taxes which an exporter is paying on the products which are ultimately meant for export, like VAT on fuel, which is used for transportation. There is no refund mechanism for that VAT. the mandi tax, the duty on electricity used during the manufacturing of such product, other duties and taxes and levies other than GST, which are not as of now refunded to the exporter, will now be refunded under this scheme. A functionality will be worked out by the government. It is expected that it will be depending on some percentage of the FOB price of the export. So MEIS will be vanished, MEIS will be gradually finished, and new scheme will be announced, and every tax which has been paid at any point by the taxpayer will be refunded. So thereby making exports completely tax-free. It will be applied only for those taxes which are not right now refunded. So for example, GST, there is a separate mechanism for the refund of GST. So GST is not covered in this scheme. Only those taxes, levies and duties which are other than those which are already being refunded are covered here. Some examples can be VAT, as I discussed, mandi tax, electricity duty, etc. So detailed functionality is expected. The detailed notification in this is expected. This is coming out from the press release which has been taken from the DGFT website. So those were the major discussions that I had to do with you. So we can now open the queries. Thank you so much.
Nitin, you take up the questions first.
Yeah, Pulkit ji, there was a question from Mr. Mridani Ranpura that the interest which is chargeable on the income tax, which is proposed that it has to be reduced from 18% to 9%. Is it a monthly interest or is it an annual interest?
So it is annual interest. See, it is for income taxes, we work out interest calculation on per month or part of month basis. But the 9% rate is per annum. So when we divide 9% rate for 12 months, we'll come out with the percentage that is applied per month.
Okay. Mr. Devnam has having a question regarding NPA and margins. I request Mr. Devnam to raise his question.
Default is in the February. Also, it's been exempted or only for the months in April.
I'm so sorry, you're not audible. Can you please speak louder?
Sir, regarding the
Please mute everybody and then open the who want to talk.
Pardon, sir?
sir, can I ask now?
Yes, Mr. Devnam, please.
Sir, I think host can unmute all. Mute all. Can I ask now?
No, please, yes.
So regarding this assets classification, you are telling if it's March, April, May, there is any delay, there will be no asset classification. If it is a delay in February, will the asset classification exemption will work or only for the March and April? Example, if I have not paid
March, April and May, all the facilities, yeah, so all the EMIs which were due between the period of March, April and May, it is for them only. So if there is any delay in February, it will be counted for the asset classification down date.
Okay. Regarding this working capital margins, normally it is 25% in our jewelry. Is it, if you are telling to recalculate, it will be reduced to 20% or what?
Sir, there is no as such limit specified by RBI. RBI has given a general guideline to the banks that they can consider revising. So that will, I think that should depend on your bank and your relationship with the bank and the sector in which you are. So that has to be worked out banks to banks on their individual basis, depending on the bank's policy.
Or not on,
So you can
on a general basis?
Yeah, it is a guideline given. It is a guideline has been given to the banks. They have been permitted to make such changes as and when required, but you will have to bargain it on your individual basis with your bank.
Okay, okay, thank you. I think now I heard a lot of banks are giving temporary ad hoc limits on the COVID crisis. I think I heard from SBI and Union Bank on the extension of the collaterals and the primary security. Okay, I think we should push for it. All the banks should announce this because we need to pay interest. We need to, but I think that is general. I'm asking GJPC.
For that,
So
sir, the customers will have to unite.
No.
For that,
SBI and the Union Bank has come on its own. I think from the industry we can press because the COVID crisis is for all, not only for SBI customer.
Agreed.
It's for all bank
Agreed.
customers.
Agreed.
So I think from
Agreed.
the we can put the RBI to see that it is given on a how they given for a working capital margins to be reduced. If they give it on same thing, all should be given ad hoc temporary limits. I think we should do it. That's what my
Agreed, sir.
submission. Thank you.
10% agreed, sir.
Okay, now Vision Gems has one questions related to the letter of undertaking, which are expiring on 31st of March. So what would be the status of those expiring letter of undertakings being given to the GST department for exports?
So LUTs can be filed afresh. They can be filed they are being filed online. For 2021, you can file a fresh LUT. So filing of LUT is very, very simplified now. It is just a form which you need to file on your portal, on the common portal for GST. And it is hardly a procedure of 5 to 10 minutes. You just need to file it. You will get the LUT number within a span of 72 hours. Even if it is not approved within 72 hours, then there is a deemed approval after that. So your ARN number for filing that form, there is an application receipt number that you will receive on your SMS and email, and that ARN number becomes your LUT number. So you can very well file that for 2021. So there is no problem.
Okay. So I hope that is being cleared to Vision Gems. And if there is anybody who has any other question, because I have not received any other question on the chat box. So the floor is open. If anybody wants to do it, then they can unmute themselves and raise their question.
Sir, any changes in input payment, sending input payments to out of India?
Sir, as of now, there is no announcement, but we are anticipating and we are expecting certain announcements to come from for both for import and export, because sending payments as well as receiving payments, it will affect both the ways. So we are expecting some announcement anytime sooner from the government, but there is no announcement as of now.
Actually, for regarding the exports, there is a relaxation of 6 months. So now it can be sent up to 15 months. Previously, it was 9 months. And
Yeah, absolutely agreed. But imports, there is no announcement.
For import, no announcement.
Yeah,
and
for
the
exports, we are expecting something. GJPC has also represented this matter to DGFT, and we are expecting something. Let's see how it goes.
Thank you.
Agreed, sir.
So, any other question?
Sir, what about the 15G form?
Pardon, sir?
What about the 15G form?
Okay.
By 15G form, the date will be extended or same?
Sir, no communication as of now. I think the date will be extended. See, there was a general extension given for any kind of forms which were due date of which were expiring within that time frame, 20th March to 30th June, 29th June. So I think it shall be covered over there only. Because for returns also, for income tax returns also, there is no separate amendment done in law or anywhere else. It is being covered in that particular provision only. So it is obviously a form only, and the form word is mentioned therein.
So there is another question is what is the update of realization of update for realizing the time limit in case of exports date extended up to 30th June? What is the update for realization of time limit in? I think this has already been cleared that exports, the time limit has already been increased by 6 months. So now it is like 15 months from the date of export. Any other question?
close the session today.
I think it was a wonderful presentation. I think most of us were not aware of a lot of amendments. I think in a nutshell, I think Pulkit has given it. It's wonderful. I think a wonderful time. We have, even the lockdown period, we have been educated and been empowered. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Pleasure. Pleasure.
Thank you, Pulkit ji, and thank you to all the participants. Thank you. Thank you, WTC Navneet ji. Thank you.
Thank you, Pulkit ji. Thank you so much for your help.